or something, Mark?
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I
Caster.
didn't.
That was Caster, everybody. That we
Yes.
we cast. We take our this webinar and we send it out to different groups of users, potential viewers, because some people go to YouTube, some people go to Facebook, some people go to private sites. Um, and remember, the vast majority of people will watch this as a replay, not live, like the audience that's there with us today. Most people will come. So this is now a 4-step. So the first step is get the free guide to keep scrolling down, Mark. There's more description there. And this has not been written yet. And it shows, keep going down. It just tells you kind of what's in it. And then you would fill out the form, which is farther up the page. So this was just down the page, but this has got more steps. There it is. You just put your name and email address. But let's see if it'll show us the next couple of steps. I think there's another here. You go back to Funnel Hero. Let's see go down to the dots, Mark, on the opt-in funnel there. No, the 3 dots below it. The one's way down at the bottom there. Let's see if it shows that there's more than one. Let's see, click on that. Aim, open, embed code. I'm not sure what the other steps are there. Maybe go up and click where it says 4 steps and see if anything happens. No, not going to be anything there.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Only thing.
I'm not sure what the other steps are here.
The only thing that's clickable is the open funnel.
Well,
And
all those
okay,
are,
let's see. Manage
yeah, those are
pages.
all clickable.
Yes, these are manage pages. So maybe here.
I know, try clicking it.
Okay. So manage pages, opt-in page,
Oh, there
sales.
we go. So the
Mhm.
opt-in page is what we just saw. And then there's the sales page, and let's see that one. We haven't seen that, the sales page. Let's see what that one looks like.
Yeah, it's opening.
So everybody, I don't know why
See.
Mark's machine just keeps showing these black in the bottom of the pages that's actually Zoom.
Yeah, this
Can
is
I open? What's going on? Why didn't that open? Let's see.
it's not
Uh,
no, didn't
Preview. Click the
open.
preview on the summit on that preview below
Uh,
there.
yeah, I opened this, but
It may not have created it yet.
maybe.
Click the order confirmation. Click the thank you page. See what that preview it. So click the preview. Oh, that one. I don't know why those aren't showing up yet.
Yeah, these are not. What if I click on open?
Try it. It
So,
could
okay,
be
this is the
it's
back
not.
end.
That's the back end where you can edit it, but there's nothing there. The interesting
Right.
thing is there's nothing to edit. So I don't know what we have to do to get that to work. Anyway, we haven't learned this program in its entirety yet. All right. Well, talk to Wayne today. So any questions and comments that you guys have? I did have somebody yesterday that said they weren't able to sign up, but that person I see is in today. So I obviously did get the sign up done. And I'm not going to say who's the name there because I don't like to literally without people giving permission. But we're going to do an amazing webinar in the next couple of months with a group that we've been doing a lot with lately called Greenfoot. And specifically, Tom Gonzer is the name of the guy that's there. And that is he and his sons and several other amazing business people. And so we're going to interview them and maybe a couple of sessions even, because it's a way, when I've talked about this in one of our previous sessions, it's a way to have companies be able to monetize what they do in industries that maybe aren't so green. And for example, they work in the waste industry. And honestly, if you live anywhere where a truck comes down your road and picks up your garbage can and puts it in the back of that truck and then takes it to a landfill, that process uses a lot of fuel in that truck. It's very few garbage trucks are electric. And matter of fact, I don't know of any that are. They're mostly, I'm going to move my camera just a tiny bit here. Second, everybody. Move it up. There we go. That's a little better. They're using a lot of fuel, and Greenfoot's program is simply to where the person that's the trash producer, if you were the one, you would just pay a little bit, a tiny bit of your garbage bill, and it would just be included in what your entirety was to donate back to a cause. And it could be a cancer cure, it could be regenerative food production, it could be anything that would be really positive. And then also you would maybe and very likely have a garbage can that said something about what that cause was on the can. So might be pink can that was then a cancer related circumstance, and very, very cool. Well, he'll talk a lot more about the program when we get to it. So anyway, why don't you have you stopped sharing, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen here. And Mark, look for questions from folks.
Right.
And right now you're seeing Zoom, but I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint. And here is what this is going to be called this is probably a little bit of a half-hour type talk, but I'm not going to start it until I just hear whether anybody there in the audience, and this is one that I haven't even finished fully editing, but that has any specific questions or thoughts that we talk about before I get into describing this. You see anything, Mark, that we could discuss?
No, I don't see a question yet.
All right, cool. Well, what do you think this is about? Give some guesses. I actually says a little bit here. Doping, double standards, and the lost generation of American cycling. Well, what does that have to do with economics? It has a lot to do with it. And it also has a lot to do with me. This is story which I had a chance to live through. And it also relates to a major sporting event that's going on in the world right now called the Tour de France, which is the largest and most famous bicycle race in the world. A couple of things about the people who race in it. I think it's in about its 125th year. Don't quote me on exactly how many years, but a lot of years that it's been going on. It has around 190 riders every year. And every year, maybe 10 to 15 of those are rookies. It's their first time they're doing it. So there's a overlap from year to year to year. The very best riders usually are not the rookies, not the first time attendees. And the fellow that's very likely to win it this year, named Pogacar, has actually won it 4 times previously. And if he wins again this year, it'll be his 5th. Well, I used to race road bikes. I used to do races that were not nearly as hard as this one, but I've done some that are week long. This is 3 weeks long, and raced from one place to another, to another, to another, and ultimately ending up a week later somewhere else. And my son raced at the very high level, and I'm going to stop there and kind of lead into the rest of kind of this story. So the trigger for this, what caused me to get interested and talk about this today, is something that just happened over the weekend at the current Tour de France. And that is that on Sunday, or actually Saturday early morning, before they raced on Saturday, on Sunday. So yes, it was Sunday early morning. A number of the racers in this race had knocks on their doors of their hotels or their huge motorhome that they might have been staying in. And it was the people from the drug testing association. And they were woken up out of deep sleep. It happened during the middle of the night. One of the favorites in the race happened to him at 1 a.m, another one at 5 a.m. And they were asked to take, not asked, told they had to take urine samples for drug testing, which nothing wrong with the drug testing side of it. It's actually a very good thing. Why do it in the middle of the night, right before a very important stage in the race? So stage means a race, one of the races. Also, how would other sports have reacted? How would the heroes of other sports have reacted if that happened? Why this isn't just abstract for me, I'll talk about that. Why this whole drug issue was a big deal in cycling years ago and still is today, what it did to American cycling, and then really, how does it relate to other systems that we get involved in related to life and things that we're doing, farming, ranching, buildings that we build, different things of that nature, and the connection to economics. So I just kind of said what happened. A little more detail. A French judge approved nighttime anti-doping controls, which is sampling, based on some serious and I've got my screen right in the middle, and specific suspicions. The guy who was in second place at the time was awakened at 2 a.m. for a test. The guy who was leading was awakened at 5 a.m. for a test. And this is the first time they've ever done it in its 100 and some year history that they've done nighttime tests. So this is rare. It just doesn't ever happen. The rules have allowed it since 2016, but it's never been used until now. The next day, Sunday, the guy that was tested at 2 a.m. crashed. That happens. Broke his collarbone, and the tour was over. Monday night, they didn't test everybody on that Sunday. They did 6 more teams. These were just 2 of the teams that got tested the night we're talking about. And yet, they didn't need to do any of those. The guy that crashed and Pogacar, the guy that was leading. And then the next day, Monday, which was a rest day, they tested all 166 of the riders in the race. What is one of our members in the audience asking a question about? Is there a specific question that somebody's asking? I keep seeing a hand raised, Mark, and I don't think I want to finish this talk, and then if we want somebody to be able to come on live, we could. But
Yeah, Alicia has her hands
I,
raised.
yeah, I don't. she asked her to, Alicia, if you would, don't mention people's names, Mark. That doesn't work.
Okay.
But anyway, one of these guys that was tested, the one who was leading the way, was quoted as saying, when your sleep is ruined one night, maybe you're a little bit less concentrated on the descent. And that's what he's talking about, the guy that second place, and the fact that his tour was ruined. He crashed and he's done. And this is his highest rival. This is a really good guy, Toddy Pogačar is. So here's the question. What if FIFA decided to do the same thing with Lionel Messi at 2 a.m. in the morning before the World Cup final, which happened also that same day on Sunday? What if the PGA decided to test Scotty Scheffler at midnight before Sunday's final round at the British Open? What if Major League Baseball demanded a blood sample or urine from Aaron Judge, outfielder in the New York Yankees, Hall of Famer in the future probably, before Game 7 of the World Series? In any other sport, that whole approach, if that happened with those people, those three bullets, it'd be the biggest story of the year. And yet hardly anybody even knew about it. You probably didn't know about it in cycling. It hardly made a ripple. Why the double standard? Why don't people make a big deal out of the fact that you're farming and ranching and you're using regenerative methods and not just farming the way everybody else does? Worth thinking about, worth a question. I think it's a double standard. Cycling gets treated differently, always. So this is just kind of what happened. How any other sport would react if it was not cycling is that ESPN would lead with a story with it. Congress potentially would hold hearings. The players' unions would file injunctions. The commissioner would hold press conferences. It'd be one of the biggest sports stories of the year. And athlete welfare would become the headline. Well, how did it get dealt with on cycling? ESPN ran a tiny little story. You couldn't hardly find it. The doping test angle was barely even surfaced. A magazine called The Athletic published a piece days later, meaning it today. NBC, the broadcast rights holder, barely touched it. And the director in front office sports picked it up, but it was barely there. And then the worst thing, the horrible thing, the guy, Vingegaard, his tour ended. He was finished because of his injury. Well, it doesn't come with no history. It comes with cycling's history. Way back in the day, Lance Armstrong, a team called Festina, something Operation Puerto, they called it, there was heavy duty drug use in cycling. And because of that, right now, most cyclists are treated as being guilty until they're proven innocent. There's no broad US broadcast right. NBC, which is not huge, as big as ESPN, owns it, but ESPN has no right to even write stories about it. There is no writers' union. There isn't something like the National Football League union or the National Basketball League to file grievances. Writers complain but have no mechanism. And then a cultural indifference, the US sports media treats cycling as just a niche. The sport's own doping history is used to justify abandoning its riders. Anyway, I told you that this isn't just an abstract. This is very personal for me. I raced bikes at a pretty high level in the 1990s. I raced with some of the best older riders because I was older in the world during that era. And I know this sport from the inside, not as a fan, as a competitor. And what's happening at the tour isn't just a scandal to me. It's a pattern that I've seen and lived. So a little bit better, and you guys have heard me interview my son on this platform, on the EAT platform. Just a little more about him. He raced bikes called BMX bikes from 5 to 13. It's good, but not great. It wasn't like he was one of the better ones in the world or in the country even. Then he turned to mountain bike racing when he got into just before his teens, and actually found that was amazing. Raced against adults, and frankly was winning races and beating most of the best 18, 25, 30-year-olds in Idaho. Because of that, he got seen by a number of people, and he got recruited to race road bikes when he was 14. Actually, he was on the U.S. Junior National team. I didn't get this changed right by when he was 15, but was on the U.S. Junior team when he was in his mid-teens. Raced in what's called the Olympic Festival twice. Raced with Lance, was actually in a team time trial with Lance, several other U.S. riders, racing against other people in the world, and could compete with basically anybody in the world. He was at the top level. Got second place at a national championship when he was 18, and was good enough to live at the Olympic Training Center of Colorado Springs. He now is a FedEx franchise owner in Chino Hills, California. But here's something that happened that was kind of negative. He quit when he was 19. The U.S. coach, a guy named Renee Wenzel, was requiring all the young riders to take drugs. Dustin witnessed Lance and others doping, and yet he said, no, I'm not going to do that. He gave up his life dreams as a young man because of drug use in cycling. Most, and it wasn't just him, don't make him sound like he's just so super special. Most of the best U.S. riders quit around the same time for the same reason. It wasn't a talent gap. This was an integrity test that teenagers shouldn't have had to take. So this is this guy, Renee Wenzel. Previous to the U.S. coaching, he was a Danish cycling coach, and then the junior national coach. Multiple riders sued the U.S. cycling and Wenzel because of allegations related to drug testing. He supposedly injected minors with steroids, gave them pills without even their knowledge or consent. Armstrong's personal coach is a guy named Chris Carmichael, and that's who Wenzel worked for. Wenzel denied the charges, but lawsuits were out there. He was sued. He was never formally banned, but he was fired at that point. So there's one kid in specific named Heath Sandel, amazing bicycle racer. He won the silver at the 1994 Junior World Championships in Ecuador. And he won as a national record, set a national record. It lasted from 94 for 10 years up to 2000. This guy was amazing. Lance has said many times that Heath was better than all the riders that surrounded Lance, including himself. Said Heath was a better rider than me. All of those guys, Hincapie, Van de Velde, Leipheimer, Hamilton, Landis, others, admitted to doping. Heath walked away rather than doping. He now lives in Alaska, went into academia, and is actually a geographer and an environmental scientist. And we'll try to interview him at some point. But because of that, he was a world champion who never turned professional. Just three other names, people that we cycled with, that raced for the U.S. national team: Renee Sens, Jeff Wentworth, Jeremy Miller, from different places in the country. They all quit because they didn't want to do the drugs, which was becoming required. One guy stayed, Christian Van de Velde. If you listen to the commentary for the next rest of the week and the last 2 weeks on NBC, you would have heard Christian Vandeveld. He is one of the commentators. Not a bad guy, but he admitted that he used drugs, testosterone and performance enhancing EPO for at least a 5-year period. And he literally is quoted as saying, I thought doping was the only way. So not everybody, but the vast majority didn't do it and quit. So there's the quote from Christian. And yet he wasn't as good as Heath. He wasn't as good as my son, Dustin. He was all right, but he wasn't the best. So what that caused for the US in cycling was a 7 to 10 year void. And just a little bit of the history. So in 3 different years, 86, 89, and 90, Greg LeMond won the Tour. He was the last clean, and Greg's been very vocal about being anti-doping and didn't ever do it himself and did plenty of blood drug testing, and he never did do it. From 93 to 96 was when this lost generation was coming up as juniors. And in 97, 98, they all quit, every one of them. 99 to 05 is when Armstrong had his 7 different titles, all of which have now been erased. He was banned for life. Hincapie, Hamilton, Landis, Leipheimer, Vandeveld, they all admitted doping, some of them banned. That was the entire American presence for over a decade. The clean ones, Dustin, Heath, Renee, Jeremy, Jeff, they're gone. They quit. Roughly from 99 to 2012, there was 0 clean American Grand Tour, which is what the Tour de France is. And there's 2 other Grand Tours, the Tour of Spain and the Tour of Italy. There weren't any competitors. We lost over a decade because of drugs in the United States. It wasn't until the late 2010s that a new generation emerged. And those are the guys racing, even some of them retired already. Seth Kuth is racing now. Matteo Jorgensen is from Boise, and he's racing now. Nelson Paulus is retired now. And they grew up after this scandal. The talent was there. The system drove it out as teenagers. The void wasn't a failure of American athletic ability. It was a failure of the system. So now, how does that relate to all this? Why am I telling this story? One is I lived it, so it's important to me. And what is it? How does it relate to other things? This isn't just a cycling story. It's a pattern I've seen throughout my career. Environmental regulations designed to protect ecosystems that punish the people that are doing real restoration work. Let me repeat that one. I don't very often repeat stuff, but I'm going to repeat that. There are environmental regulations that are really designed to protect ecosystems, supposedly, but they punish the people that are really doing the restoration work. That is not good, everybody. That's very much like this cycling story I just told. There are compliance frameworks that burden the honest operators while it lets the polluters, usually the wealthy companies, find loopholes. Anti-doping controls were designed to protect the cycling sport integrity, and they destroyed the competition itself. That's also happening in restorative, regenerative living, agriculture, building construction, health and nutrition, all kinds of topics. The 2 a.m. drug tests, the coach who injected minors are all the same pattern. Institutional power exercised without accountability, justified by the whole concept of the greater good. So anyway, here's why this is kind of a parable, and it relates to something that's biblical also, where there's the parable of the talents. Stewardship requires fairness. So taking care of the land requires that we be fair to it. Taking care of the air, taking care of water requires that we be fair. A system that tests everyone at 2 a.m. isn't stewarding the sport, it's controlling it. A coach who injects minors with drugs isn't developing the talent, he's exploiting it. True stewardship means protecting people in the system, not the system itself. Not just, excuse me, that's the important word there, not just the system. So that one I'm going to repeat again. True stewardship means protecting the people in the system, not just the system itself. The system isn't the sport, the riders, the farmers, the ranchers, the green builders, the water quality protectors. They're the ones that need to be protected. When you protect the system at the expense of the riders, this is a cycling example, you lose them both. So this is now my quote. Integrity isn't rewarded in systems that are broken, but it's still the right choice. Integrity isn't rewarded in systems that are broken, but it's still the right choice. All right. So, how have you ever been? Let's go to the whole audience here. Part of a system, a workplace, a sport, an institution where doing the right thing cost you, where the system protected itself at the expense of the people in it. So I'll stop with that and we'll move back here. And Mark, what have we got for comments, questions, and so on? I have one more topic we'll discuss just briefly after this if we still have time. We've got about 18 minutes left.
Yeah, we got quite a few comments. I don't see any specific question, but yeah, a lot
Well,
of
let me
comments.
I'll go to Zoom and look at the comment.
Okay.
Actually had some videos of those, a bunch of those people. I've got some, had some of my son, I've got some of Heath Sandel and others back from the 90s. It was really cool. Again, I used different AI. It's so cool what you can do these days. Why am I not able to? I think I've got this being too big. Oh, here we go. I gotta bring it down. I'm gonna stop sharing. Here we go. Let's just see what we've got in the chat. Microbes and soil health, a video and a narrative. That's cool. You guys can, Mark will give you that. Sort of a drum we beat every week. We know microbes are important. Sounds like a couple of people commented they like the blue, not just one. Carbon, the ideated platform. I'm not sure what that's about. Integrated development environment for graphical applications. Yep, that's a description, Robert, of Greenfoot, and we'll be interviewing their principals and leaders here in the near future. Boy, our audience is great today, looking at Greenfoot and holistic approach to energy efficiency. So to help recycling and promote a circular economy, you can donate financially to advocacy nonprofits, use commercial zero waste programs, or donate gently used goods. That's another cool thing. Any thoughts? Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Those are all great ideas, Alicia. Not sure what this comment was. It was for concentration of the sample. Then following it, Lance Armstrong was the trigger to the doping stuff. I that's a hard statement. I was around. Certainly people doped before Lance Armstrong. The doping's been going on in endurance sports forever, for as long as there was something that could be taken. So it isn't that Lance started the process. The real bad thing about what Lance did is one is he was at that point in his life, and he'll admit it, he was a jerk and he was off the charts arrogant, and he had lied. He said, I never took drugs. I mean, over and over, not just once, many times. And then ultimately he was forced to confess. And then he went through a disease during that time frame, which was prostate cancer, which no, excuse me, not prostate. It was testicular, and ended up having that dealt with. But and the guy loved then, still does today, loves cycling. And I think today he does feel bad that he did what he did. And I actually don't, I'm not around him anymore like I was back years ago, but supposedly he's become a lot better person. And I hope that's true. He does a pretty good podcast, does a pretty nice job with things. But was he the trigger? I don't know that that'd be accurate. He certainly was the one that got most of the publicity. There were a lot of other guys, and one in particular that was just not a friend of his at all. And they, matter of fact, the opposite, they did not get along, who for a long time put all kinds of blame on Lance. But then it was determined, and he finally had to admit, and he was stripped of his titles for doing drugs, for being a doper. And that's Floyd Landis. And again, that's not new news. Floyd's, I know him, but and lives in Leadville, Colorado, interestingly, where I used to have a outdoor adventure center right near it. But Floyd got caught during dope also. Let's see what else here. Habitat University, that's somebody's commenting on. Yeah, it's a self-paced online learning platform. It's made by Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever. Is it really? I didn't know that. They're the ones that created it. I actually listened to podcasts from the guy that's the president of both Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever. Is that right? That Habitat University is part of them? I'm going to click on this link. You see what this does here. Boy, it is. That's true. It's cool, Alicia. I'm not showing my screen here, but I will. Let's do it again here. I'll share. Here's the website for Habitat. This will come out of the picture here in a second. Oh, you know what? It's new. It really, look, it did its soft launch in February of this year. Really cool. Let's look at one of their courses. Get rid of this. Enroll. Can do that. Maybe I can see what I'm trying to see if we can find one of their. Let's see if we can find one of the. Explore the schools. When you click on this one, it really doesn't take you anywhere. Most of the courses, it says here, takes 15 to 45 minutes. You can enroll here. Oh, here must be one. Oh, session 3. Here are the some courses it looks like. CRP Essentials, Introduction to Conservation Reserve. Here's the Power of Partnerships, state-specific information, and here we go. View all products. Here's the courses. Very cool. Here's one of them, Turning Passion into Impact. There's all the different little sections. I don't know if you have to do one at a time. You probably do. Looks like you've got to go through them in order. Doesn't look like I can get into that here. Maybe this one. I'm going to actually look at the page source for a second and see what this is done in. Google Op. No, that's Metropolis, static. It's not telling us really if it's Circle, which is an education format, or it could be Kajabi. I mean, it's not. I think we would know if it was Kajabi, but here we are back to it again. Well, I'm going to sign up for this later. It'd be cool. Anyway, let's go back to questions again. Stop sharing and go back to the chat real quick. Lots of new ones here. Smarter, the future of agriculture. Vingegaard is one of the only 8 riders in history to have won all 3 Grand Tours. Yep. So is Pope Pogacar, I'm pretty sure. And I'm pretty sure Eddie Merckx is in that. Let's see if the riders, they probably don't list Lance, but let's see if I can get these right. And look them up, Robert, and then tell me if I'm accurate. Eddie Merckx, Miguel Indurain, a Frenchman named Ankara, I think from way back in the past. I don't think Le Mans did, so I'm not going to put him in that list. There's 3 Grand Tours, the Tour de France, the Vuelta a España, Tour of Spain, and Giro d'Italia, Tour of Italy. Boy, I'm not even coming close to the 8. You'd think I'd be able to, but I'm not. Here's one about President Trump signing an executive order to direct federal agencies expedite rescheduling marijuana Schedule 3 controlled substance, which means changes it from a Schedule 1, which means that it's less of a criminal offense. It's not as, you can't, if you had it in your suitcase on a plane and you got stopped, you could go to prison. Anyway, that's one of the things. Here's 3 former athletes, Greg Strock, Cater, and Garrick Lotta, accused Wenzel. Yeah, that's right, along with Chris Carmichael, of treating them with illegal drugs. Yep. And that was not when he was with the U.S. That was when he was in the private cycling before he came to the U.S. team. Yeah, well, 2015 is 11 years ago, so I wouldn't say that's now. I have no idea what Wenzel's up to. Hi, Dr. Fuhr. He says hi. Need to bold. Thank you, Paul. Thanks for coming on with us today. Well, Robert, if you can, throw in who those 8 were. It says you did say it was Wikipedia. Now it's caught my fancy. We've got 4 minutes left, so we can go another couple other topics. I did say I was going to talk. Let me quickly say one thing that we'll talk about another time. I have a new project. We are looking at buying a lake in Montana. It is a reservoir that is near Flathead Lake in the northwestern part of Montana. It has got a hydroelectric dam on it that is owned by a very large hydroelectric energy producing company called Pacific Core, and they will be the ones selling it. And the lake's 73 acres, so it's tiny, really, compared to lots of big reservoirs that have dams. There's 4 megawatts of power that are produced there, so that's a production amount per hour. That's tiny. The Pacific Core's entire portfolio produces about 12,000, and this is 4 of it. They only have 2 sites in Montana. They're in all the other Western states, but Montana is where they're least active. And the public and I think good science would say that because this reservoir has now been there. Oh, and by the way, it was built in 1902. It's a very old reservoir, 1902, 124 years old. Excuse me, 124 years old. Anyway, we have a chance to potentially own it, to create a economic community there. There's 500 acres that surround the reservoir that would be what we would be acquiring. And anyway, I just bring it up and we'll talk more about it later. We are close to the top of the hour. Any other thoughts or comments? Any good ideas for other new speakers, people that are in your sphere of influence? It could be a great speaker for us. Let us know privately if that happens. Those of you watching this as a replay, let us know and we will react to you. Mark, tell us who we've got for some upcoming. We have a guest on Monday, I believe.
Right. Yes. So Jonathan will be our guest on Monday, and I'll show his just quickly going to pull up his landing page. Okay. All right. So this is
I wish that Mark's stupid
yeah,
Zoom didn't cover up his whole screen. Jonathan's been with us before.
yes.
Very cool guy.
Right. And so this
We
he's
raise
all
honey, eggs,
of Dasher Farm. He's the owner of Dasher Farm. So it's really
lamb, and
all different kind of animals.
pork. But that's not really what we're doing.
Blue Dasher Farm.
Yeah, I think we got some fairly old pictures of him because he's a little older than this picture portrays.
Right. Yeah, he looks like this close to this picture now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and this is going to be Monday, July 27th at 2 p.m. Mountain.
So everybody's going, wait a minute, why is it show Tuesday? Well, that's because that's in Mark's time where he lives.
Yes, my time. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, it is top of the hour. I love these sessions. By the way, I had to get a generator fixed today that we used out at our ranch at Rockville, and actually two of them, one Westinghouse and one Honda. And there's some stories there too. What generators are like batteries. The new ones they're making aren't quite as good as the old ones were, and got some stories about them. So anyway. Everybody, thank you for coming. Have an awesome rest of your week and weekends. And we will see you hopefully with Jonathan on Monday. And then we'll do another one of these sessions on Thursday, and go back and listen to some of the replays. That's where all the magic is all those replays. Somebody giving